what the conversation was about what is the winning message outside. And the message in the districts that we have to win is the message that unifies us, a message for America's working families. And everybody knows that. Yes,
I'm just wondering.
The gentleman behind he had his hand up.
Madam Speaker, the previous four presidents, Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump, entered their first year with their party fully in control of Congress, the House and the Senate. How much do you have to trim back the ambition, knowing that at best it's a 50-50 Senate, and some think that the Republicans are favored in Georgia, and you'll still have Majority Leader McConnell?
Well, how many times have you heard me quote Lincoln? Public sentiment is everything. With it, you can accomplish almost anything. Without it, practically nothing. And that is what I think is going to save the day. The public wants the virus to be crushed. They want the economy to reopen. They want children to go to school safely. The public wants a big jobs bill. And I don't care if you're in San Francisco, Michigan, Alabama, wherever it is, people want jobs. They want jobs.
Good morning, everybody. Total Control 871. I just decided to just cut on the recorder and just check out the news. I have no actual plan. I'm just going to maybe put together about a half hour of commentary of the news. There we saw, that was a recording from the live stream of CBS, Pelosi. So that was Pelosi moments ago. She was really gasping behind that mask. I just found that a bit of irony. If anything, that's what kind of prompted me to turn on the recorder. Just simply listening to her, number one, tell her lies, and she's gasping for air, and you know, Nancy, you could just simply take off the mask and breathe a lot easier. Just saying. So yes, everybody, the ballot box stuffing has officially begun, if it hasn't begun already. This is why they wanted a mail-in election. One of the things that I noticed Nancy say, a bit of a Freudian slip, still dealing with the flip-de-flop. Bit of a Freudian slip on behalf of Nancy Pelosi. What did she say? She critiqued that we're the ones normally criticizing other countries over their election process. Yeah, I'll definitely agree wholeheartedly with Pelosi in that assessment. A lot of it usually falls into one of two categories. Either they are a developing country or a dictatorship country. Again, going back to my non-political years in my 20s and channel surfing, God knows I wasn't a news head back then, but just simply channel surfing, and they would, referencing whatever country. Put it like this: the roads were not paved or minimal pavement, and people were mostly standing in line on the side of the road. You know, a lot of African countries, Asian countries, and we would see them standing, and they're basically putting their paper ballots into a box, you know. And again, long before I was ever political, I would just kind of say to myself, so you're just going to put your piece of paper in a box, and because a lot of these, the news segment was about was such and such country is vying for independence, vying for democracy, you know, looking to liberate themselves from their dictator. And you want to do this with a paper ballot in a box, huh? Oh, okay. Now, hey, look, don't get me wrong. I'm sure a machine could also be manipulated, although it just tends to be a lot more difficult. Um, we've already begun to hear a lot of the issues coming to light, and of course, the Democrats, they're right there with their excuses as to why. Sharpie Gate. Sharpie Gate.
So the people that were in front of me, there were two people in front of me that used the Sharpie.
Yes.
That was given to them by the poll workers.
Yes.
It did not read their ballot.
Okay.
And they slid it in there twice. I used a pen.
Yep.
Took their Sharpie and threw it away.
And it read your ballot.
And it read my ballot.
And it read your ballot.
And it read my
So
ballot.
what they're doing is they're telling people to use the Sharpies. That way,
Yes.
those votes aren't counted.
Yes.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yes.
So there was other people that were in there voting with their pens, and they literally went around and they were yanking pens out of their hands.
Yes, they tried to do that to me, and I took their Sharpie and I hid it because then they said, look for all the Sharpies that are not being used and take the Sharpies back. They had a bowl of pens behind them that they were not giving to people and only giving Sharpies out.
There we go. So the ones with the Sharpies are not being read at all.
No.
No. None of those ballots are being read.
Of course not.
So that's again, and so they're doing it because they're trying to skew all of the votes in
Yeah,
there.
and they
That's
didn't,
exactly what's going
try
on.
to even slide it more than one time. They immediately took it and slid it in the front, like not even tried a second time. They just
That's correct.
ran it through and then slid it in the front, and I was like, wait a
That's what they did with yours?
Yep, and I just went with the Sharpie, voted Trump, and she just slid it in, and that was it.
But they're not counting. They're not counting the ones with the Sharpies. And so they're forcing people to use the Sharpies, and those votes aren't being counted.
Right.
That's what's going on.
Right. And then I posted it on my Facebook group chat in my neighborhood. They said they did it at the Queen Creek Library. They did it at ASU Polytech earlier. Now, like 4 different polling places were doing Sharpies, all in, like, between Queen Creek and, like, the edge of Gilbert.
Yep. And those ones are not being counted.
Yeah.
They're invalid.
Yeah.
Yes.
I approve.
So they're invalidating votes is what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I just,
That's how it feels like.
picture
Okay.
ballot.
And then there was a guy that directly came out and yelled at me 3 times. They both came out.
Oh, no, they called the sheriffs
You
and
guys
said
stop.
that, and told us to stop handing out the ballpoint pens, in which case, those are the only ones that are actually being counted and validated.
I used your pen and then I
Yeah.
put it back to you and I said,
And they're-
give this to somebody. 'Cause
Yes, yes. And so we know that, and we've been telling them, you need to use a ballpoint pen, not the Sharpie, and now those are getting invalidated.
Yeah.
So people are coming here to vote for Donald Trump, and those votes are all getting invalidated. That's what's going on.
Yes.
There we go.
Now, I can't really verify if what was reported there is correct or not. I really don't know. I know that they have several live stream video cameras for the poll watchers affixed to a corner in a room wide up, that gives a large view of the area, and that's fine. But one thing that I find strange is there a particular reason why we can't see these ballots going into machines? Is it true that are the Sharpie ballots being rejected? I'm not saying that that's the truth. I would just like to know, can we see? We had a report that night. Why not just simply bring in the cameras and show us several minutes of your Sharpie ballots going into machines and being accepted? It's a society where we no longer require proof, just like with the pandemic. It's a society where fear reigns supreme. Tell you a little story about fear. I used to rent a room in Pleasantville somewhere, and the neighbor had a dog, maybe about 45 pound dog. Nothing purebred, but the dog mean, barked. And for about 2 years, as I come and went, going to work and whatnot, I would always cross the street rather than cross in front of the fenced-in yard. And And one particular day, the dog comes, because I hadn't crossed the street and I was on the sidewalk crossing in front of the dog's house, and charges out, uh, barking ferociously, snarling, and then all of a sudden the dog's snout kind of bumped up against the fence and caused the gate to swing open. And I'm like, oh my God, it's I'm gonna have to fight this damn dog. As soon as the dog saw that it had accidentally opened up the gate, it immediately became silent, tucked tail. We're talking ears down, skulking away. It just in silence. In silence. The dog skulked away with its tail between its legs. As I continued walking on to the bus stop to catch the bus to go to work, I was just, I had my little epiphany right there. I was like, oh my God, for about 2 years, I was mortified of this dog. And in reality, this dog was infinitely more scared of me. I do believe maybe X amount of years later, I would hear and learn a little something about dogs, that the older they get, the deeper and more ferocious their bark sounds. It's Mother Nature's way of trying to compensate for their lack of physical prowess, their inability to defend themselves. Yes, literally, as dogs age, their bark literally becomes far, far more worse than their bite. I found that interesting. 2 years this animal kept me in fear, when in reality it was infinitely more scared of me than I of it. Sinestro, the master of fear. I really have been giving a lot of thought to fear lately. It seems like the entire world is being held hostage by it. We're being held hostage by theoretical models. We're being basically held hostage by what scientists that have their own agenda, whether it's for their own bank account or notoriety or position in a cabinet or to helm a project uh, that again will give them wealth, drug patents. Americas are being held hostage by fear. And we are learning that America has kind of had it with the whole fear thing. Hello, your own polls are beginning to show that, what is it? The coronavirus, it's coming in somewhere between third and fourth place for issues to vote. What are you most concerned about? COVID-19 is like third and fourth place. People have basically had it with your fear-mongering and your constant cases, reported cases. I mean, you don't even need to have the most clearest of perception. We're starting to learn that you don't need the sword of omens to have sight beyond sight. People are beginning to see through the sham for themselves. While you're shutting down people's businesses and plunging them into poverty with your cases positive and your experts say, and if you don't mummify your head, then therefore you're going to die and cause everybody else to die. And of course, all of these strange exceptions to the rule just keep coming to the surface. Nancy Pelosi gets to enjoy a day at the salon without her mask on, and it's just somehow swept under the carpet, and it's really no big deal. I see. This is why people are starting to rank your fake pandemic, lower and lower on the totem pole of what is most important. Okay? People are beginning to wake up. And when I say people, I really mean that. We're starting to see that people who were on board with the pandemic, maybe there were people who didn't believe in the pandemic all along, but because they were handing out lucrative unemployment, people just basically thought, hey, wow, great, 2020, I'll take the year off and basically go on vacation. And then they began to realize that it's not quite as easy as you thought. Getting the unemployment was going to be next to impossible. The stimulus check, the little $1,200 stimulus check, it didn't exactly change anybody's life. $1,200 isn't going to keep you from homelessness. Trust me, if it would, then I wouldn't have been homeless for as long as I was. And more importantly, people have just simply have had it with, the warped reality and the lies. I saw a report where it said Trump did a lot better with the black community than people thought. Trump did a lot better with several communities than people thought. And there's already pundits talking about how the Democratic Party need to take a long soul-searching look into its heart. Yeah, no shit. Like I say, I am not some great Trump cheerleader, just a guy who wants his civil rights and wants to be left the fuck alone. You understand? We're beginning to see how civil rights are being eroded, taken away. If you don't believe our hired experts, then you are disinformation. You're going to be throttled. Democrats had themselves in a bit of a precarious situation, painted themselves into a corner. I believe Obama's administration, I don't know about the first half, but definitely the second half, he fought really hard to make things like internet to be utility. And if it's a utility, then suddenly you don't have your private company status any longer. You can't say it's our private platform. Everybody needs to have their voice. And we're seeing now that the ballot box stuffing, what kind of ballots are being counted right now, I don't know. Once the ballot is separated from its envelope, and believe me, that's step one. A lot of people, when they woke up the morning of the 3rd and even the 4th, and they were like, oh my God, Biden hasn't been declared the winner yet. Oh my God, quick, where's my ballot at? Where I know it's around here somewhere. Let me fill it out real quick and put it in on the sly. Yes, there's some of that going on. Suppose if I'm being honest, I suppose maybe some of that's going on Trump's side too. This is why you needed a secure voting machine. All right, let me go to my news sites here.
Matt, good morning. So it's centered on this Hummer over here behind us. It's on 13th Street here, right next to Vine Street. About a block away started from a tip centered on this, possibly about a group or family who drove up from Virginia in that Hummer to attack the convention center where votes are being counted, according to the tip that police got. Police tell us they found a weapon and that 2 people were transferred to Central Detectives, but it's unclear exactly how or if those people are connected to this investigation. Taking a closer look at the vehicle, there's a window sticker and a hat in the Hummer for QAnon. QAnon is an internet group that's known for spreading conspiracy theories.
Bear with me, the playback's true.
There's a window sticker and a hat in the Hummer for QAnon. QAnon is an internet group that's known for spreading conspiracy theories. The FBI has labeled them a domestic terror threat. At least 24 congressional candidates in this current election have endorsed or given credit to conspiracy theories promoted by QAnon. But
I don't know, is this how it happens? Is this how America turns into the new Middle East? Multiple factions? I'm going to tell you right now, like I say, I myself, I am personally trying to bring about the restoration of civil rights using nonviolent means, but it's like I said, that nobody really seems to want to acknowledge you until blood has been spilled, until they're made to fear you. It's sad. It's like, what, we have to use fear to fight fear. You know, you're utilizing fear to promote your fake pandemic, and therefore you're forcing people to utilize guerrilla warfare tactics to scare the bejesus out of... You know, I don't know if I have a picture of it or not. What was it? Several months ago, didn't Pompeo sit down with fucking Al-Qaeda? I mean, frankly, the image blew my mind. This was Al-Qaeda, architect of 9/11, the thing that radically altered all of life all over the world. Yet, here's America sitting down 20 years later, you know, at the table, ready to negotiate. Why? Well, you eventually learn, despite your best efforts, despite your F-35s and stealth this and bomber that and all your, you know, you got your Bin Laden, but who are we kidding? You got Bin Laden most likely with Al-Qaeda's help. Probably. They probably gave up their own as a means of brokering a deal, as a means of purchasing a seat at the table. You know, you can continue on reviled as the world's number one terror group, or you can give us, you know, your leader who, quite frankly, they're so wanted, the heat is on them so bad that they can't effectively lead anymore, you know. Or you can give us that which gives America a certain amount of bragging rights, of vengeance, and in the doing, it will purchase you a seat at the world table, where you can be possibly taken serious, you know. This is a terroristic faction that, well, to our knowledge, is non-nuclear, yet they are given quasi-respect of a nuclear-capable country. Why is this? Because they had to spill blood, and I mean a lot of it, okay? Trucks, stabbings, bombings, mass shootings. All of this went toward purchasing their seat at the table. Is this what's going to happen? Are law-abiding citizens about to be terraformed, transmuted into what I suppose you would call a terrorist? Your terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. You see, the whole thing depends heavily on total world domination, the fake pandemic, I mean. Think about it. If it were a separation, kind of like a North and South Civil War type thing, if people were allowed to live, these are the masked people and these are the unmasked people, the scam wouldn't work, okay? Sooner or later, the masked people are going to go, I don't understand. How come the unmasked people don't seem to be dying? I mean, sure, there's death among them, but there's death among us. And it's basically the same death that's always been. You dig what I'm saying? They need total domination. They need to force everybody into the scam. Otherwise, it won't work, which is what I am extremely fearful of if the deep state is able to pull off this stolen election. Like I said, voting machines were somehow too dangerous, but slot machines were A-OK. The whole pandemic is riddled with plot holes. This is okay, that is not. The vaccine, Pelosi was talking about, we have to get the vaccine, we have to get the vaccine. A vaccine that, who are we kidding? Most people don't want it. They don't want it, and quite frankly, who are we kidding? Whatever COVID was at the beginning of this year, it definitely isn't it any longer. I believe that the people, the few people that it did affect gravely, to hospitalize, ventilators, things like that, basically what has been, I suppose I could give them the benefit of the doubt and say what has been learned. I would hate to think that they had the knowledge all along, just simply chose not to implement it to create death. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they learned, and now the therapeutics and how to treat, when to administer the steroids and the chloroquines and this and that, how bad to let it get or this or don't get, and so they know a lot more in those terms. Again, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And if Biden tries to implement a national mandatory mask policy, you're going to see hell break loose. This Hummer will just be a fucking drop in the bucket. Okay? You're going to see domestic terrorism explode throughout this country, both literal and figurative. And frankly, I don't really know if I would agree or disagree with it. It's like I want a Tyler Durden Fight Club deathless revolt. But who are we kidding? This is real life. This is where they play for keeps. Your fear versus my fear. I forget what particular, what was it? What was I watching? No, comment section. There you go. And what was it, coward? Once again, the commenters lashing out to whatever terroristic attack. Yeah, the Paris, the UK, right? Wherever the latest stabbing took place. Cowards, cowards, da 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 da. Actually, no, and that's not me giving any kind of veiled praise or anything like that. Enacting something, taking a life, and knowing the doing of that is going to end in your own life being ended, the death of your own life, that does take a lot of bravery, commitment. Not saying that their actions are correct or that they should have, but if indeed you actually want to correctly assess, what is it, know thy enemy, you have to know your enemy. You can't sit there and see them through veiled patriotism. You can't sit there and see them through patriotic eyes and things like that. If you want to see who and what it is that you're actually fighting, then be ready to do that. I tell you, fear. That's what they're selling, and that's all they have to sell. It's their only weapon that they have. It's a crude weapon, but effective. When you think that all is lost, when you think that fear and terror have come, remember, you have to dig deep and you have to find the courage.
This power is our destiny. All is lost. Not while I'm standing. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light.
We chose wisely when we offered you the ring. Thank you, Jon Stewart.
The Manhunters. Like Sinestro, once upon a time they were the good guys, kind of like our Democrats, our shattered glass Democrats. We saw in our storytelling there that our Manhunter took over the main power source of Oa, where all Green Lanterns get their power from. And they had did more than just simply laid siege to the power. They became engorged in the power, which is what Pelosi and her Democrats are doing right now. They are completely engorged and decadent on power that they have stolen. Stolen using fear. One man with enough passion and resolve. Jon Stewart is the most passionate of the Green Lanterns. It's why the energy, it's infused in his body so deeply that it turned his eyes green. Jon Stewart doesn't wear a mask. He doesn't have a secret identity. His entire life is devoted to the core. He is Green Lantern through and through, which is why the energy has changed his eyes green. Yet in our storytelling, we saw that the Manhunter laid siege to so much power that it even ripped the energy straight from Green Lantern's eyes. But with enough passion, resolve, and of course, with enough courage, the backbone of the Green Lantern Corps, we can take back that power. We can rip the goddamn life straight from our shattered glass Democrats. Our once upon a time good guys. Once upon a time good guys. You know, I just finished up my my viewing of Star Trek Next Generation on Hulu. That last 7th season, it was a weird season. A lot of the fat cast members, the character members, their family were heavily featured. However, one of the things that I took note of, because everybody seems to fixate on the final episode of Next Generation, All Good Things, and it was a good episode, it certainly was. But you know what? It's the second to last episode that kind of caught my eye. It's entitled Preemptive Strike. Ensign Ro Laren returns to the Enterprise after having undergone extensive, basically, anti-terror training, advanced combat training, stuff like that. She eventually is used because she is Bajoran, and there are a faction of, well, not just Bajorans, but people from a few different walks of life who basically have a mutual enemy, the Cardassians, and what the Cardassians stand for. Now, if you're paying attention, it's pretty easy. It's a very veiled, a thinly veiled metaphor for Jewish Nazi occupation. The Cardassians occupied Bajor, their home world, and the Cardassians look rather reptilian-like, and of course, Nazis are often referred to as snakes and reptiles and things like that. So, and in the Bajorans, they basically look human except for augmentation to the nose there, and of course Jews, the nose, the whole thing. Okay. So we get the metaphor. That's my point. What I found so incredibly brilliant about our last episode, I know Roddenberry had actually passed away a couple of years before Next Generation had come to an end. But you know what? I really felt Roddenberry's soul speaking to me in that second to last episode, Preemptive Strike. You see, he could have gone with any enemy. We could have had Borg. We could have had, you name it, the Dominion, if you're up to snuff on your Star Trek mythos and stuff like that. We could have had a falling out with the Klingons. Oh my God, the war between the Klingons has come back, And they did flirt with that a time or two. But what I found so incredibly interesting that Roddenberry wanted to leave us with, because I understand that the final episode, All Good Thing, that was the big hoorah, but he wanted to give us just one last moral lesson in life before the series came to an end. In Preemptive Strike, who we found the enemy, well, the bad guy was the Federation. You'd have to watch the episode and I suppose even the series to be up to snuff, because the episode The Wounded factors into it as well. Yeah, basically, I think there are even some YouTube compilations between the episode The Wounded and the Preemptive Strike and things like that. But basically what I'm trying to say to you is that what Roddenberry was cautioning us about, warning us about, in our endeavors for peace, progressiveness, moving forward, be very careful who you choose to get into bed with. The Federation suddenly found themselves chummy with the Cardassians, our metaphor for Nazis. And like Riker said, I can't believe it, we're firing on our own citizens. Firing on our own citizens. You know, descended upon, arrested, thrown in jail just for breathing, just for everyday law-abiding life. It was amazing. In the end, it was the Federation who ended up being the bad guy. All right, guys, that's it for now. I think I've given you enough to think about. I don't know how the election's going to end. They're stuffing the ballot boxes now. I'm sure a lot of Johnny-come-lately ballots are being cast. Don't even get me started on the bot ballots. Like our guardian says, all is lost. Will there be one among us? Will there be one that says, through brightest day, blackest night, let no evil escape my sight? Total Control 871.